there is a concern, hopefully won't come to pass, that NATO, the UK, could be drawn actively into war with Russia. And in that case, the UK has obligations to NATO about the kind of equipment we can mobilise in certain timeframes, how quickly we'd be able to get that to the eastern flank of the alliance. He's worried we wouldn't necessarily be able to do that because we're giving tanks directly to Ukraine.
Lucy, we're sending what is a squadron of 14 tanks. What exactly is it the Chief of the General Staff is worried about?
Well, Matt, he's worried about the British Army replacing and upgrading the tanks left over. I think there is this growing concern in some quarters of the military that while it's absolutely right to support Ukraine, both because Russia should not be allowed to illegally invade another country, but also because victory in Ukraine is crucial to the peace and prosperity of the rest of Europe. So while it's right that the UK is giving a lot of hardware and materiel to Kyiv to help win this conflict, there are concerns about the gap that's left in Britain's armoury, as General Sir Patrick Sanders described it yesterday. He's made clear he views this as an opportunity to accelerate and upgrade whatever is going to replace the hardware that we've donated. But I think there are concerns in some quarters of the army and other parts of the military that the Ministry of Defence and the Treasury might not come good on their vow to try and make sure that anything given away is replaced.
What is it? I suppose we only need to worry about not having tanks here in the UK if we're worried that somebody's about to invade, presumably. That's sort of the point of having the tanks, isn't it? Is to respond to real and genuine threats.
Yeah, well, the way that the Chief of the General Staff, the head of the army, General Sanders, put it, is that it essentially will impact on Britain's ability to mobilise the army against the acute and enduring threat Russia presents, as he put it. I think what he's getting at there is that there is a concern, hopefully won't come to pass, that NATO, the UK, could be drawn actively into war with Russia. And in that case, the UK has obligations to NATO about the kind of equipment we can mobilise in certain timeframes, how quickly we'd be able to get that to the eastern flank of the alliance. He's worried we wouldn't necessarily be able to do that because we're giving tanks directly to Ukraine.
Of course, tanks have been a big part of this debate with Ukraine for a while, haven't they? Let's remind us of how things have changed since the start of the war. This was Boris Johnson arguing with Tobias Ellwood at a tetchy meeting of the liaison committee before Russia invaded Ukraine. Let's take a listen.
What is amassing on the Russian border right now, on the Ukrainian border? It's tanks, arguably enough. Well, but that's besides the point. I'm saying step back, look at the wider security picture, look at our defence posture and see what needs to be done.
If you think that UK tanks are the answer, then...
No, now you're going down an avenue.
You're saying that we should commit UK tanks to the defence of Ukraine.
No. You're deliberately... I'm really sorry you're taking us down this rabbit hole.
And on it went. And then Boris Johnson went on to make this definitive statement.
The old concepts of fighting big tank battles on the European landmass, which I think is what you're driving at, are over.
That was in February last year, Lucy. We've come a long way since then.
Yes, we certainly have. I think it does speak to the difficulty for any Western nation like the UK, especially a sort of social democracy that has, an expensive, national health service and welfare state, how much money you can give to defence. Because what the Ukraine war has shown is that you do still need to invest in these sort of legacy capabilities like tanks for sort of the type of battles you would have seen as long ago as World War II. But you also need to be investing in all sorts of high-tech new drones, the application of artificial intelligence to defense systems. And of course, Russia has been a real pioneer of what's now known as either hybrid warfare or grey zone warfare, which is not just using the typical tactics of fighting and hard aggression, but also assassination. We saw the Skripals assassinated on British territory back in 2018. They're using all sorts of economic levers, cyber attacks. So there's so many faces on which a nation like the UK needs to be investing in its defence.
Well, we'll see how this pans out, because you're right. It takes such a long time to invest and then see the products of it. Lucy, I want to ask you about another story which has been around sort of in the background, if not on the front pages, involving Nadeem Zahawi. He's obviously now in Rishi Sunak's cabinet, but it involves him and his finances paying, millions of pounds to settle a dispute with the taxman.
Yes, and all rather murky, Matt, exactly what's gone on here. It's been the Sun on Sunday that's led the way on the reporting. It's found that after questions were raised about Nadeem Zahawi potentially avoiding tax by using an offshore company to hold shares in YouGov, which is a polling company he founded, the Sun on Sunday reports that he has agreed to pay several £million to HMRC to settle a tax dispute. So what's been suggested in the reports is that he used an offshore fund to hold a stake in YouGov, this company he founded. He then sold that stake in 2018 for around £20 million. And Tax Policy Associates, a tax-linked think tank, has suggested that he would have incurred capital gains tax of around £3.7 million on that sale. Zahawi has refused to sort of confirm or deny if that is the case, but his spokesman has said that he has and does pay his taxes and is proud to have built a successful company in YouGov.
I mean, I was also thinking, Lucy, you've now got Nadeem Zahawi, who can't really do any press because of this. You've got Suella Braverman, who can't seem to speak out because appear in public because she seems to upset more people. We've got Dominic Raab can't appear in public because of ongoing investigations into bullying. It's no wonder the government's not putting up many ministers on the morning round. There aren't that many to choose from.
I think you're absolutely right. And particularly on the tax fund, it's a sore spot for Rishi Sunak, given the discovery that his wife Akshata Murthy was also using a sort of non-dom status previously. So it also entrenches this idea that it's a cabinet of multi-millionaires who are out of step with the general public in the time of a cost of living crisis.
Really good to speak to you, Lucy. Talking us through all of that.